Now, in the previous video, you would have seen at the back here, we'd have had 8 Lalandi pine trees that we had cut down and kept as hedges all along the back fence and all the way up this side to where the compost bins are now located. Now, those Lalandi trees look like those trees up there behind the house. That's exactly what they are. These are bigger ones that haven't been cut down or hedged. So we've gotten them taken out with chainsaws, and we had to get right down to the stumps and sort it out. And what we've done in place here is the following. The first thing we did is we put up 20 meters of lattice. To do that, we bought 100 by 100 sticks and chopped them down to 100 by 50, and that's one of them there. We made it 50 to match the depth of what the fence is doing here, so that when we level up with our timber work later, we sort of got everything flush, and that includes the lattice. So we put the sticks up to whatever height we chose, put up the lattice, ran a reasonable level, everything done by eye, all the way down, and that's the first thing we did. The next thing we did was this, the compost bins. Neighbours down the road gave us huge piles of really good pavers of various types. These are the bigger ones, sandstone colour pavers. And we poured a sand down here, made a bed of sand. And from that we also put plastic around the fence to contain all the moisture and dirt and things that may come up when we're skewing through the compost and turning it over. And we can also hose out the area regularly. The next thing we built were the storage bays made out of pallets we found at the back of Bunnings. They were up to 2.5 meters, I think, in length, or something like that. 2.5, could even be, yeah, roughly 2.5 meters in length. And many of them were down to whatever, 1.5 meters, something like that. This is one of them, the shorter version. The ones down the back that we put up against the fence were much longer. They're definitely at least 2 meters, probably 2.5. We just put the pallets as it is, and we put probably 6 to 8 nails into the sticks we put up against the fence, and that's it. Nothing else is holding these guys in, so we've left the fence quite free, and these boxes are basically just floating on the ground. We then used hardwood stakes, as you can see here. I'll go in closer, and joined them all up to brace everything so that they don't sort of fall apart as the weight of the soil, compost, sawdust, humus, etc. Builds up, like this box here. All the boxes inside, we stripped other pallets, and we filled in all the holes, so there was hardly any holes. And then we bought really cheap tarp that Bunnings had on special, 2 tarps for $30, quite good solid tarps, and each one was like 5.5 meters by 3 meters, and we used them inside out for the black side, and we nailed it onto all the cheap pine wood, because obviously leaving it sitting exposed to moisture and soil all the time, the pallets would just rot pretty quick. So I've used tarp on the inside, and what I've also done is with these drop down doors, which I'll show you in a moment, I've put gaps of stick down there to allow like the compost to breathe, and we sort of put like one this side and the next one will be up that side, and we sort of escalate it up as we go along. But the compost is quite empty at the moment. We're about to refill it all up, and these doors, they come up, they just come up and out, and so you can take as many off as you want and drop it in as many as you want. Let's see, we got sawdust and many other things here. We then also put a framework up for shade cloth, and we ran some 70-30-35 timber sticks along the top of the lattice all the way along to where the boxes ended, and we used a bit more than, I think they're more like 80-35 or something like that as sticks all the way along the front. Most of these at the back have tomato stakes, but the front we've used these old sticks. Most of them have come from junk that we stripped apart from pallets. And because they're above ground and they're not in the, they're not sitting to rot, they will last a long time. I just bolted them all together. As you can see, this is the bigger box of all the boxes we built, so I've got one end front and back to really brace it against the hardwood there and here. And now we can contain a vast amount of materials, natural materials. This bed here is recycled soil that we've been taking from all our pots where we grow eggplants and capsicums and chilies and tomatoes and other plants from last season through to winter. And we can now recycle all this material with all our organic compost and other things we add to it, like zeolite, soft rock phosphate. Like here's an example of these pots that we've got plants in here that are only 3 weeks or so into their pots, maybe 3.5 weeks from seedlings. And that would all be recycled materials we've used in there. We've added our compost, and including cow poo and horse poo, turkey poo, broken down over 6 months. We get it from a bloke locally. It's fantastic. We get it what we consider is a very good price, very cheap. And you can see the quality, like with these eggplants. And we do it with many of our pots. So that was a big project. That took us quite a while, because each box took up to 3 days to really get it right and set it and build. We've got more doors to put on. And Fiona, we've never done this before. This is all new to us. We just sort of made it up as we went along. Fee got up, and she's the monkey here between the two of us. She does the real height stuff. She's good with heights, where I'm a lot more clumsy with heights. But and put up we stretched it. I was at the bottom, and we put up this shade cloth. This last bit here we had to buy, but everything else was given to us. Even quite a lot of the screws were given to us, and what we ran out of, we bought more. So that's the second job. So this should last us for many, many years. Keeps everything tidy and organised. The third thing we did is the hothouse. This has been the main reason why we've gone to the trouble of taking down all the trees and doing all this work. It's building this fella. And we've never done this before either. This has been a new experience for both of us to this, but we decided to take it on. And it's been a slow, tedious process to put up the framework. What we did, we bought 8-foot steel star pickets from a local co-op for $10 each. And we then braced it with 70-35 pine sticks, as cheap as we could get, to the fence, joined to the 100 by 50 sticks that we put up, that we had screwed to the fence. Now these 100 by 50 sticks have been used to support not only the lattice, but the shade cloth and all the boxes that we built down here for the storage. This was all thought ahead like a Meccano set. As you can see, all the sticks going down that fence. And also this will become the framework for putting all our bracing for supporting whatever we put on the inside of the hothouse behind the fence. We've also just go by the measurements. From the brace there, that brace, it's 2 meters down. So the star pickets are set at 2 meters to the top, up there where the L plate is sitting, down. And we then brace them all with the treated pine decking timber, and they're 70-20s. And we also use 90 by 20 decking timber for temporary bracing to keep things together so they don't pull in or out. And we're going to take them down shortly as I put a bit more bracing down the walls with these 70-20s. And I'll probably use these 90-20s to strip down like I've done up the top here, and I'll show you this as part of making the dome. That one there is stripped 70-20 down to 35-20. The next one up is the 90-20 stripped down to 45-20, and they're 70-35 sticks at the top running all the way, and the same is repeated down the other side. As we go around this arch, at the middle you can see where all the joins are. We've basically got them all joining pretty much at the same place all the way up, all through all of them. And this has happened because when we got the roofing material, the plastic roofing material, it's all clear UV, high UV protected sheets, which are $40 each. they're 3.6, just over, they're actually 3.615 in lengths, because we're going to run the roof across. If you can see my hand, we're going to go across and roll it over and down. We're going to start from this side. Now the thing is, because the ground is really out of level, and we didn't bother sitting there being serious surveyors, I just got a line by eyesight. We run it by eye. And because we know the fence is not square exactly, and over the years treated pine fences warp, so there's going to be a huge amount of irregularities all over the place. So I thought, oh bugger it, I'll just do everything by eye on this side, get this side square as best I can, and we've done that. And anything that wasn't, I sort of adjusted it, as you can see by the material of these decking timbers that I used, running all the way down the side. You see all that. Got it all square as best I could. Joined it to those 150 sticks. And then you'll notice also we put an eave on at both ends. And when we overlap the roofing, we will have more than enough overlap, because we'll put 2 sheets to cover the whole span. And they're all going to screw on from the roof side back down this wall, all onto polypipe. So we're going to be running the timber along here and then put polypipe over the timber, and they're all going to float down to about hip height or belly button height. I don't know what that is in feet, but it's, you know, it'll be somewhere around here, around this sort of area. And then all down below, I'm going to put in western red cedar strips all the way down, and then down into the ground. We're going to put more plastic down there, because we want to create a barrier to stop anything coming through into the hothouse, like slugs and snails, etc. Inside the hothouse area, we're going to push out all this wood chip and drop down fine gravel that we can pack, box it all in. And the pavers we got from the local neighbour, who gave us many, many hundreds as a gift, we're going to pave this whole area inside, so it makes it we can wash the hothouse and we can keep everything clean like we've done with the compost area. We've spent about $1,400 so far making this. Including in that $1,400 is about $800 of roofing materials. We may have to spend about another $150 on that if we need more. And each sheet was $40 for the 3.6 lengths by 82 in height per sheet. And I'll go down and show you those, what they look like. It was a real challenge to get this. I've never done domes before, anything like that, but we just wanted to get something that would work well with the hothouse, and because we want to put vents up here, high as we can, so we're going to build timber frameworks for vents up inside these, in between the struts and the bracing that forms the span that supports the polypipe. So we may end up with 1, 2, 3, 4 vents up here that'll have louvers you can adjust, open and close. This is the front part, the compost side, and we got all the 100 by 100 sticks, including in that $1,400 we spent. We got all the sticks and timbers and frameworks for 100 by 100 sticks that will go around the inner framework that forms the shell for the architraving. I don't know all the timber terms here, I just do the best I can here, guys. So we can put doors in and screen doors and the ventilations up top, and secure it both in the ground with door jams and whatever you call it around the doors. And the rest will be, again, western red cedar and then roofing material going up either side. And we're going to do it to the back entrance as well, where all the compost storage bay units are. So that'll give you an idea of what that, and we'll probably do all that sometime in early next year, because there's no point doing, we don't need to finish all that off. The critical things for us is just to get the roof up, get all the material, and hopefully this will all happen by this next 2-3 days. Anyone out there wants to come and give us a hand, we've got the skills, want to help me put up the roofing, try and get it all square as we bring it across. You know, get in contact with me. Phone number will be put in the about section of the video. As far as some of the things we're using, I've been using Ryobi power tools. I've got a jack kind of hammer kind of power tool there, and then I've got the other standard wood drill one, and I use them both. We're using all various types of hex wood screws. You can see they're all hex, various sizes. They range from 100 down to 85, down to 65, down to 50 hex screws. And then I use various cladding hex cladding things that we use here. You probably can see that one. And they come in various sizes from 35 up to about 50. And for the roofing, we got these polycarbonate caps. There's two types to provide suction and floating, because we don't want to put too much pressure on the plastic. And various square head and Phillips heads, and these are all the various fittings I'm using. That's for the hex heads and square heads, and these are all the fittings for our bolts. And we're using cobalt drill bits, because we're going through wood and metal, and you know, opening up holes to put reset bolts into wood. We're using things like that and various drills, all pretty standard stuff. And then obviously saws and clamps. We've got a whole stack of clamps and levels and squares. We do all that stuff, and we have got string line, and we do all that as best we can. We found these strips of metal that Bunnings had for sale. They worked at 80 cents a piece, and that's one of them. Fiona and I sat on the floor inside Bunnings, and the guys gave us this metal cutter, and we cut them right there and then into pieces. And we've got 16 of them, front and back, all the way down. And then we also got some L plates that we used at the front to secure the bracing at the front, because this is where the major weak points. So I've got an L plate sitting up there, and screwed in both sides, from top and front, and then the poly pipe will come over. What else can I tell you? Oh, at the moment, the poly pipes on this side of the roof are not screwed in at the bottom, because we've left it open, because shortly we're going to start putting the roof in, and we need to cut into the bracing to drop it down. Now, one of the challenges we have here that I've been thinking out as we've been making this is that I'll try not to move the camera, but this moves. Whoops, there goes the two tools. I probably destroyed the two power tools, but it does move. So what I've had to do is to make sure that when we run the roof plastic material over the top and all the way down, that we do not join it to the fence. So we're going to have it run on down and meet up to the brace here, and that's where it ends. So if any really heavy winds happen, this structure can move, but the plastic on the roofing will not move and not cause any cracks to it. So we're going to bring up the rest of the roofing from down up. It will be joined to the bracing and to the bracing running along the lattice and between the 100 by 50 sticks down to wherever we drop the cut-off point, which will be down here, and the rest will be timber that we'll bring in here to close off the area to make it nice and tight. Obviously all this timber here will all fade to grey over the next year or so, maybe sooner. I don't know how fast it'll do it, but we won't paint it. We're just going to let it all go, and it'll look good with the black and the clear plastic and the grey. And we'll probably have nice painted doors and screen doors. So this will give us immense food production in here, guys. We're going to have to get someone in to make us the steel meshing shelving systems, because to fit the measurements of what we have to use here, because we're coming right down the middle. We walk through the middle, and shelving systems on either side, stacked in coming out low at the top and then coming higher and higher and higher. But we'd like to be able to change the configurations whenever we require, including options where you can go above the bracing, and if we want to put things up there like running a steel mesh on the inside, so the cucumbers and tomatoes can crawl up the inside of the hothouse and go up and grow along inside the hothouse through winter. Because I'm going to really try see whether we can pull that off. So we have some pots of basil and 2-3 pots of tomatoes, cucumbers, and maybe some zucchinis growing in here winter. And then coming closer to springtime, we'll have the shelving systems, so we can have our multi-hundreds of seeding pots, small pots that we plant our seeds into, that go straight into the garden beds. Smaller, you can see the ones, those pots in the background there, those pink purples and that kind of size. So we're going to probably spend more money on the shelving system because we're getting a lot of water. We're going to have to use steel or something like that so it doesn't rust and break down too quick and deteriorate, and give us all the flexible options. So we have no idea what kind of money that's going to cost, but we're already saving for that, and we're making contacts with local people who who would like to help us with it. It'd be nice to find someone out there who likes support, who's got the skills, who want to come and help us do this job here to support this dream. Then please contact us as soon as possible, because we're really keen to get that side of things organised. And then bring in the watering system, because one of the other things I have to do very soon is bring in some very large water tanks down the side of the house, and I'll show you all that. And also bring in a water tank or two. We might even temporarily use some of those 1,000-litre IBC tanks, which come in a sort of a steel framework, which a lot of big companies use for moving liquids around, whatever, fertilisers and things they have inside them. In this area between the compost bins and the hothouse, unless we find someone who can make us a metal or corrugated steel water tank. I heard of a company called Rhino. We might look at that, so we can put up a nice big water tank up here to give us gravity-fed pressure. And down the side of the house, which is much lower down, we can put in a 10 to 30,000 litre water tank and set up the piping to run up through the side of the fence and up and bring it all the way up to here. One of the reasons we've been so busy, because we've had immense heat for the last week and a half. We've had temperatures up to 40 in mid-spring, which is, I've never experienced it in the 9 years I've been living here in the Southern Highlands. Some of our plants got a bit scorched, so when I show you some of the shots later of the garden, you'll see some of the plants that got butchered by the intense heat that we've also neglected because we're so busy on all this construction work. And then the other thing we want to do is to build 3 sheds down the side of the house over here, which you can see all that space where that temporary shed is. In fact, I'll walk down there, guys, so I can show you the roofing material. And just show you the temporary roof cover that I made up out of junk, tomato stakes, poly pipes, and old tarps. This one here was falling apart and breaking to 2, the tarp, so we stripped it down, made one side into the wall down the side, and screwed it up with bits of timber. A fellow called Edwin came up and gave me a hand with this and contributed ideas to all this quickly, and we made some framework to hold it all in place. And then on the inside, with the roof, you'll see it all up here. We had 90 by 20 cheap pine stuff we found, given to us from a local timber yard, because they sometimes dump stuff out, used materials, construction sites that have been used with concrete might have been used. And so one of our friends, Mark, was saying he brought back many of those sticks. So we've had all these sticks which we used to support the lattice up here, which is now also allowing us to put those hex screws in to hold up the poly pipes. And we use the same hex screws into the tomato stakes because we've got heaps of them. And this gives us storage for all our 72 bags of potting mix, and soon to come the 72 bags of seeding mix, which we then include all our goodies, our zeolite, rock dust, DE, potassium. There's all kinds of soft rock phosphates, Epsom salts. We're going to add to it with our compost for all our potting mixes, because we're planning to bring down 50 fruit trees. Mainly citrus and lemons, particularly, is what we're really focusing on. It's one of our essentials. But hey, you can put something together like this in a matter of a couple of hours, if that. Now, if I had known what I'd known at the time when I first did this, I could have done it even quicker. But it's just worked well. It's handled some pretty powerful winds here, and it hasn't fallen apart on us. And I'm just using old gloves and that to just protect the tarp from ripping into the tomato stakes that are helping to maintain some of the tension, especially when the heavy winds come blasting in here. Here, I'll come back out the other way and show you the roofing material and the sticks. So you'll see down there, they're the 100 by 100 sticks that we've got that to do all the framework for the doors for the hothouse. And over there, the sticks that are the stripped down to 100 by 50. And there's piles of scrap leftovers of the 70 and 90 by 20 treated pine decking, which I've been scoring for about $1.60 to $1.90 a linear metre. I think sometimes they're about $2.10 a linear metre. But I wanted to get something that could cope with a bit of weather and moisture. These 3, I got all the big sticks cut down to 3.6. Bunnings have been selling it for around 5.3, so I'm getting them cut to 3.6, and the scraps of these leftovers I've got here. As far as the UVC plastic roofing material, this is the Sun Tough material that we've been getting. and they're $40 each. They're 3.6 meters in length and about roughly 82 in height, and they're real clear plastic all the way through. There's an end piece there, and that's what's going up.
Of the ancients amazes, your intellectual grasp just inspires. No spiritual conveyance to testing, your erudition waves from afar. But your head's so strong, your heart is blind, can't feel the way along the stepping stones. The walls of words distract from the trauma, a safety net from sanctity torn. Invalidation breaking the trust down, the armor building up through the years. And your head's so strong, your heart is dead, your eyes don't break, can't hear the song, your brain goes on, your flight don't land, and your head's so strong, your heart is dumb, your eyes don't break, can't speak the tongue, creation's dreaming song, your freedom. Many stories sharing the same pain. Those partnerships that Saturday seen. A fallacy of rules and conventions that nicely camouflage all the harm. But your head's so strong, your heart is wide. So